welcome to Dear Katie, the podcast that amplifies courageous voices and real stories of resilience, healing, and hope after trauma. Inspired by the many letters Katie has received over the last 20 years, each week she interviews survivors, healers, and experts to honor their stories and explore the many paths to healing and hope. Before we begin, please know, many episodes of Dear Katie cover sensitive topics related to sexual violence, trauma, and recovery. Listen with care and take the space you need to take care of yourself. Your well-being is what matters most. Now, let's join Katie and today's guest for a conversation that matters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It is the Dear Katie podcast, and you never know with whom we're going to be speaking. And oh my goodness, today's guest is all the way from South Africa. So this is one of those moments when there's going to be a bit of a lag to Cape Town, to the States, but we are going to do our very best because you all are going to, I think, love meeting Nonku and learning her life story. So I am just going to say to our listeners, this is one of those amazing moments where you're just going to have to dig in and listen. And, all the way from South Africa, and Nonku's story is incredible. So Nonku, your last name, I think, is Shuping. And I'd love for you just to tell our listeners where you grew up, a little bit about like your hobbies, your interests, where you started life, sisters, brothers. Let's go from age 0 to 18. First chunk. Who was Nonku at 0 to 18?
Hi everyone, I'm Nonku Shuping. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I was born in a small town in KwaZulu-Natal, which is another province in South Africa, called Pietermaritzburg. I've got a big brother and a baby sister. My parents were, my dad was working as a caretaker at the church and also as a traveling preacher that used to walk long distances to preach the gospel. So my mom used to be the one taking good care of us whilst my dad is going to preach. And we moved from Pietermaritzburg, I think I was around 12, 13, to move to the Northern KZN, which is in Nkandla, and it's well known because one of the former president of South Africa was from there. And I went to school in a boarding school, which was in the Drakensberg side of KZN, and also to the northern side of KZN, where I did my matric. My hobbies. Reading has always been my safe space, and journaling, taking it as a hobby, which at the end just produced a book that came from it, because then it was always a place where I can just be myself with no one judging me, or that fear of not being good enough and all that, because I could just pour out my thoughts on it. So, and I enjoy, because Cape Town is really one of those.
Wait 1 second. Hold on. That was a lot. Hold on. How about, just so our American listeners, we have global listeners, but that was a lot. I just wanted to stop and ask a few questions. So the brother and the sister and the father, he was a preacher, a minister?
Yes.
I know it's hard. It's going to be a delay. So for listeners, if you're used to me asking a lot of questions back and forth, today's going to be a lot different. So I'm going to ask Nonku a different group of questions so she can talk in chunks. So Nonku, tell us three things about growing up in South Africa that you wish Americans would know, especially as they relate to being a survivor and a woman. 3 things.
I think that the diversity of cultures is really like intense in South Africa, because some of the things that other parts of the world will consider like so not good, and it's one of the things that are being practiced in South Africa. And like with like the Zulus, there is this thing of even in the olden days where the girls will be forced into getting married at a young age, and or if like a boy likes a girl, then they are allowed, or it's like a norm that they can actually just like take a girl and keep her for a number of days, which is actually not good. And I think it's one of the reasons why we are here today. But on the flip side of it, South Africa is really the most beautiful country. It's got the most beautiful people, like the sense of community, and you are like really part of something far bigger than yourself. And there is an African saying that goes like, it takes a village to raise a child. And that is really how it's like when the community comes together and just like become one and with one mission.
Perfect. That was so helpful. Thanks, Nonku. So let's talk about, like I always say, what brings you to your microphone as a survivor. So what is the story, the situation, what happened to you to bring you to talk about sexual violence and as a survivor? Like, what was that part of your life? What happened? And when? And who? And where? And what? And all the questions.
So I've actually experienced sexual violence from the young age of 9. But for this podcast, I just felt I wanted to share about what happened when I was 18, gonna be 19 years old. That time there was a black on black violence in South Africa. It was just before Dr. Nelson Mandela, who became the president, was released from prison. So then people had to choose which political party they gonna support and they be part of. So my dad, being the preacher, then he felt like there was no need for him to be actually choosing, despite people actually telling him that he can't be preaching to the ANC and the IFP, which was the dominant political parties of South Africa at that time. Yes, it's African National Congress and Inkatha Freedom Party.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, then keep going. Sorry, I just wanted to, like, Americans sometimes they don't study.
That's all right.
It's okay.
So
it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for making me feel better, because right now I'm just not. So on this one particular evening, yes, then 4 gunmen just came to the church where he was in town, and where I was staying at that moment, and they kidnapped me and they threatened to kill my dad. And so they laughed with me. They just threw me in a combi that was waiting, which is like a taxi or like sort of a minivan. And then they just drove away with me. So whilst they were driving, initially they had blindfolded me. And when then they started killing other people. Then they removed the blindfold for me to see, and it was like, this is the threat. This is what we're gonna do to you when we are done with you. We're just gonna kill you like a dog. And then they kept on driving, and towards the end of the evening, then they just, like, amongst themselves, they started fighting, and one of the guys then ended up saying he's the one who's gonna keep me. And then he just like raped me over and over. I actually can't count how many times, and I don't know how long he kept me for. But I just know that he actually thought I was dead when he threw me wherever he did, like throw me out. And yeah, so, and later on then it was discovered that I was actually like pregnant, and I had pneumonia that was untreated. So I lived most of my like earlier years from like 20 until I was around 35 with just one lung that was fully functioning from this whole event.
Oh my goodness, Nonku. I want to just pause and just talk to you for a second, and for our listeners, because you are first, like, oh my gosh, what's swirling in my head, and I'm sure for most of our listeners, just hearing everything you said, are things like, oh my gosh, we know so little. Even when you started out with like a man gets to have a girl stay with him for like a tryout period, is what I heard from what you said. Like, I'm starting, like, I just want to go back through a bunch of things and just sit with all of them for a second before we keep going.
Okay.
Because yeah, here we have like swipe right, and like kids are on their phones and like looking at TikToks, and can't even imagine the family structure that would place a girl with a man just unconditionally for a trial period, that still happens today. And I just want to like ask our listeners to start thinking about a little bit about like this idea, Nonku. It's like, you're my guest tonight, and then we have all these other guests and all these other stories and survivors. And there's no ranking of stories. There's no like, this is worse, it's all bad. But what I hope that all of us can do, including both you and me, Nonku, is like, let's be a strong and smart and fierce and do the smallest little micro moves to change the narrative, even if it's just to save one. Yes. Right? So I just like, okay, so that struck me first. The second thing is like, when you laugh, I love hearing you like laugh just a little bit, only but for it makes me know that even if it's like how you get through it, look at you're beaming, you're glorious, and you've been through so much, and there's still laughter in you. And so I kind of also want to say to everybody, look at this, like, we can go through everything and we still have the ability to smile and be happy. Okay, then last thing before we go back to you, we didn't talk a lot about like the whole family, but I wanted just to make sure I understood when you were thrown in the taxi, it sounded like you said it was the black, Nelson Mandela was out of prison. Let me just let's go back and do history again. Because right now you're 53, 4, around there. Are you 54? 52.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. 52. Yeah. So then now we're about like 33 years ago when this happens. So Nelson Mandela is getting out of prison. And you said it was a year of great black on black violence. And I think one of the few things Americans know is apartheid in South Africa and the whites and the blacks and the colonialism and all this terribleness. But can you delve in and give us like a moment of like what was going on when Nelson Mandela's out of prison and this, what was black on black violence? What did that mean? And how did your father play a role? It sounded like it was like, I want to just better understand the context because, you know, not to diminish your story itself, but I think Americans really need to understand that part.
Oh, okay. So before he was released, there were announcements or there were talks that he was going to be released. And from my understanding, then South Africa needed to have a party for the black people because he was black that now is going to like be a ruling party. But obvious ANC had always existed because Nelson Mandela was ANC before he went to prison. But also there was another political party which is called, it's still in existence, it's called Inkatha Freedom Party. So this black on black violence was coming from that place that these two parties, which were all led by black people and were for the black people, now we're fighting for power. Or also obvious then people didn't understand what was really going on behind it, because it was going to be for the very first time that everyone above the age of 21 in South Africa can vote, because before no, only if they were voting, it was only the white people. But then when he was released, everyone was going to be expected to vote. So one of the things they were fighting for was for supporters, that now, so between the IFP and the ANC, who's going to gain more supporters. But then the way it was done is, then if you are in a place where it's ruled or there is more ANC supporters and they ask you to join and you don't, you were actually like killed. So I know some families that a brother will kill a brother because one is IFP, one is ANC, or like an uncle killing, like so. A nephew and stuff like that. So families were even like killing each other or were turning against each other because that's what they were taught. So if I don't believe what you believe, you are my enemy. So my dad then, because of his position and his belief as a preacher man, then that he didn't need to choose a party. So for them, that's on its own, because then he was like, for everyone, you had to choose. So because he didn't want to choose, then that was the punishment. If that's like, for the lack of a better word, then they had to show him. Yeah.
Okay. And so that the night that you were kidnapped, it sounded like your father was preaching and you were there.
No, yes, no, he was not. So because of the violence, we had to move away from our home for safety, and the church that he was working in was in town, which is like in the city. And then so that's where I was for safety purposes, and then just be with him there, because that was one of the safest place to be than the villages where they were killing people. And also my mom and my baby sister had moved from Pietermaritzburg to another place, to another village where it was safer than where we were.
And was your brother with you then? Your brother? You said you had a brother too.
My brother also had to leave. No, he had to leave home as well. He was sent to a different place or another village where he could be safe. So he was not around.
Okay. So then your dad, so just so we understand, do you know who who kidnapped you and why? Do you know who they were?
I ended up knowing, yes. I ended up knowing who, and that day it happened, one of the guys I could recognize because he had been like asking me questions and trying to get to know me, of which then later on I actually understood that the reason why he was pretending to care and wanting to know me was to get more information, because one of like the questions I can still remember today was how many people are staying at the church, and like, trying to find out what time do the church people normally leave, which days there's like evening church service and stuff like that. But I didn't know the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm. It was like, do you remember how many? So there was one main guy who was talking to you, and you were in the back, and then there were others in the car.
Yes.
Four
Uh,
total.
yes, it was a total of four, including the driver, because one of them was driving.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, so now I remember you said you got pregnant and
Yes.
pneumonia, and you had one lung
Yes.
for 15 years. So maybe let's, I don't know how you got away. Like, I know he thought you were dead, remember? And what happened where did they leave you that night? Where were you
Uh,
left? And then how did you
I
find your way?
there is still one of the things that my mind, because my parents have never ever spoken to me about it, and my dad was very traumatized, according to my mom, because my mom was not there every time when she was trying to get more information from my dad would just not say anything, and my dad died 18 months after that, in his sleep. So but then I woke up at hospital, and that's where I woke up, so I don't know how I had gotten like there to hospital.
What was the hospital like at that time? Like, do you remember much back then? Like, what the care was like for you? Did someone come and say what happened, or did they examine you? Like in the U.S., Nonku, they might ask you if you were assaulted and do a rape kit for evidence. No, nothing like that, or was
No,
it
they
like that?
didn't. That is just, yes, no, nothing like that. And that is still one of the biggest challenges in South Africa at the moment. I don't want to jump the gun, because maybe we're gonna get to that part, but it's just how the rape cases are handled like your normal case, and that actually no one even really cares. When you go to the police station to report, you still stand on the queue with the people that are there to report their stolen cell phones and all that, and there is no empathy around it. And even the questions that they still ask you is like, oh, what were you wearing, what were you doing, and what did you do to provoke the person, and already like you are guilty or you caused this to happen to you. So there wasn't anything like that, and I think because of what was happening with the people that were being shot and stabbed and all that, the hospital was just overloaded. And anyway, there was only one hospital that could
Mhm.
attend to black people. Yeah.
Oh, the hospitals were segregated. You froze for a second.
Yes, they were.
Let's keep going. Let's keep trying, Nonku. How about we let's go to now after this. I just don't want to lose you because I know the connection's tough, but let's do from when this happened. You said for 15 years. What happened from like 19 to 35?
Yeah, that was just I actually think I stopped living. I was just existing, going through so much. Because after losing my dad, I also lost my mom, and then I had to learn to mother my son, who my mom had taken good care of while she was alive. And I tried to commit suicide a number of times. And at some point, I was seeing a psychologist, a psychiatrist, but none of those things were just working for me. And yeah, so the only time I got my breakthrough was when I moved to Cape Town, and I became a part of a very lovely church, and the pastor there was my safe space. And not just him, his family as well. And then for the first time, I could actually share with someone what I had experienced.
Wait. Who's he? Explain that part. Who was your safe person?
He was a pastor. Sorry. He was a pastor of the church that when I moved to Cape Town, I became a member of. He was originally from the
and
UK.
He was,
yeah, they moved back to the UK now. Yes, yeah.
Okay. And then just another question. You mentioned your son, your mom was taking care of your son. Was this the son from the rape?
Yes, that's a son that was conceived, yes, from the rape, yeah.
And is he alive right now?
Yes, he is alive.
Is he alive?
And he is, yes, he is alive, yes. And he is 30, yeah, he's 31 years old now.
And where does he live?
He lives in Pietermaritzburg, which is, sorry? He lives in Pietermaritzburg, in the same city where this whole thing has happened, because my brother actually moved back there, and he's married and he's got a family there, but he doesn't stay with them, because right now as I'm talking to you, he is on his journey, because he's just struggling with depression at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, did you tell him how he came to be?
Yes, I had to tell him when he was 10 years old. That was the first time he got to know that I was his mommy. And during that time, my mother was still alive. Yeah. So, because
How did you tell him?
He came back home from school and he just said kids were laughing at him because he's got an older mother. And then my mom just looked at me and she said, I think it's time. So I had kept most of the documents that I had received from the police station, because the police actually at some point in time were threatening me. So I had kept that as well. And because he was 10 and he was going to, in South Africa, we used to call it like the Model C schools, when you can go to school with white people. because schools were also segregated, and then came a time where Black people can go to schools with white people. So he was going to that school, so he could read at an early age and all that. So I started by just giving him the stuff, and I asked him if he can understand, and he said yes. And after he read, then we had a conversation which was just for days. For him to understand and giving him time to ask questions. And that was good. But I think when he turned 21, 22, then he started really struggling with his identity. Because he started to just ask a lot of questions. And sorry, I didn't get that, Katie.
Okay, it's okay. I just want to hear more about that. How did you support him or talk to him?
Because okay, I'm going to listen again.
How did you, like when he's 21 now, how did you support him and talk with him about what happened and who he is and your relationship?
We've got a very good relationship where he could just ask anything. Also, there was quite a good support structure around him, which were men from like the church, because I always felt like I was just not good enough in understanding what he was going through. So everything was like really like fine. I think things started getting worse during COVID, because then that time, obviously everyone was just locked up and like not going anywhere. So I think a lot of thoughts or thinking or feeling unworthy could have really developed during that time, because after COVID it was just more. I normally call it cloudy days, so because there are days that will be so sunny and everything will be so beautiful, and he will just like really live his life to the fullest. But then we just started having more cloudy days, and
Yeah, it's hard. I think that's well said. Cloudy days, I like thinking about, like, you don't have control over the weather, nor do you have control over how someone's processing things. And it can be really hard and unpredictable. I think that was beautiful, Nonku. Maybe in our last 5 to 10 minutes, it would be lovely to talk about, my goodness, when you wanted to be on the show, you've done so many things for survivors. So I want to hear about what you're working on, and all the projects and the book and all that good stuff. So maybe tell us what you're working on now.
Oh, okay. So right now I'm actually working on book 2, which is
I'll read to our listeners so they know what I'm talking about. Okay. So you wrote a book, and you're the founder of the Love Center and Radiant Community nonprofit organization. And then you're also a facilitator, a speaker, and you do skills training and equipping people with resilience. So let's talk about those things so everyone knows what you're doing now.
Okay. So the Radiant community is just a safe space. I host breakfast for ladies, and just create a safe space where they can actually share their stories. Because from my experience, the more I open up, the more I let go of guilt and shame, and the more healing started. So I just felt like I need to create that safe space for the ladies to actually come share their journeys and what they're struggling with and what they've experienced. And I've just seen a lot of healing, of restoration from that side. And I also then, under the Love Center, that's the space where I journey with the survivors, and one-on-one counseling, and for some of them to be reintegrated into their families and be able to just share. Because what tends to happen is, it's either then when someone has been abused, they will go stay with like the friends or someone that they feel like they are safe, and then after we like on our journey of like where they find themselves, and then encourage them to actually share with their families what they've experienced. And also I've just seen a lot of healing taking place, and actually people starting to just live their lives and like and thriving in who they were made to be, and also just being comfortable in building relationships. And I'm also under that working on a documentary right now, because in South Africa, every 12 minutes, according to the stats, a woman or a girl is being raped. So we're working on something with my friend that we just want to change the culture of sexual violence, how everyone is seeing it, because it's not about the event. Yes, the event has happened, but it's actually about how you have to live your life after the event, the things that you have to cope with, the things that you have to deal with. And actually, from the engagements that I have on like either a group or on one-on-one, most of them, the survivors, they will tell you, oh, I left my body during like this time, and this is how I used to deal with whatever was happening to me. And then so actually, by doing that, leaving your body, you're actually not living. So then how to move back and to just live your life to the fullest, and be you, and get rid of the heaviness that you carry. And another thing is the stigma that comes with it, that people feels like, oh, if anyone can know what happened to me, or if I speak about it, this is how I'm gonna be treated. And so we are just working on that at the moment. We are looking for funding. We started something that is called, like, there is a website, I think it's Backseat, if I'm saying it right, but where people can just like donate to help us do that, because the government does not give that funding. And there is quite a number of girls that have come forward now that they want to share their stories. So the documentary is just going to be different kind of people sharing their stories, and and how they feel they've been robbed by what has happened to them. And then the skills, at the moment I am not doing anything, because I'm just focusing on the documentary, and then once that is done, then I can just go back to that. But it's like a community development thing, and just giving back, because some of the survivors actually they just need to learn to communicate again, and to be confident again. And so we do like communication, leadership, assertiveness, and emotional intelligence, preparing them to go back, whether it's like school or to work. And then, yes, and I wrote a book which is based on my story, and it's available on Amazon. It's called Graves into Gardens, Cultivating Life After Trauma. As I said at the beginning, I've experienced sexual abuse by different kind of people. It's like 7 times, if I have to count. by different people. So I share more on my book about my experiences, and it's like raw, because I just felt like I need to be honest and open about it. So yeah, and now I'm working on it's like, it's not really book two, but it's linked to the book, because a lot of people have been like, how were you coping? So developing something for the survivors that is like a journal. I'm calling it a healing journal, where you can just see where you feel, where you're finding yourself, and be motivated. And I call it like a Tuesday reflection, because it's not your normal journal where you can just follow 1, 2, 3, because I believe that healing has no equation, and like what works for one does not work for another. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's
That was
where I'm
perfect.
at.
And thank you so much for giving so much of yourself and joining us as listeners. I think we are definitely going to put the book in show notes and check out what you're doing in South Africa. I know some of our listeners might get a chance to visit. We have college students who sometimes get to do study abroad, and maybe they'll choose to come and say hello and get involved with your work. The documentary sounds amazing. And yes, oh my gosh, you've got all the skills. You know, I was just thinking one last thing. Because of the breadth and depth of all those, you said nine different incidents, but that allows you to process each one and help everyone who's had something close to which one. So you're uniquely gifted, unfortunately, only but for all the trauma, right? So it puts you in this really empathetic, centered position to like better, say, you don't have to say I've been there, but you at least can understand what someone's emotions and the impact might be. So the book sounds like it would be a way for our listeners to learn about lots of different types of trauma. So I love that. And I am so grateful that I won't say came all this way because we're on screens, but thank you for bringing your voice to our podcast. And I really appreciate you so much. And I know our listeners will as well. Any last thing you want to share? Like, actually, this is my only last question. When you have that down moment, the hardest moments, like the dark clouds, remember
I just wanted to
clouds, like when the dark clouds are all there. How do you go?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me.
When the clouds
and for
come
the
in,
work
how do you
that you do,
blow them all away?
I frequent your website, and you guys are just amazing. And yeah, I really get so encouraged, even on days where I feel like I'm alone. And then the moment I just go to your page and see what's going on and read, I get encouraged and get going again. So thank you so much for what you do. And I'm really sorry about my network. How I wish we had a better connection, but it's just one of those things. But thank you so much, Katie.
No, love, heart, sending all the way over the ocean. Yes, like hearts. So we listen, and I know, you'll get yes, and then I know people will write to you too. So thank you. Your laughter, I will hear it tonight in my head, and your laughter is one of those things like it makes me happy. Look at you. Okay, Miss 52. I love it so much. Thank you for your joy.
Thank you so much.
That. It's like you got all this radiance, like shining. Yes, and to all our listeners, like my goodness, like you never know what we're going to talk about on the podcast, but it's always such a joy and a delight. And I encourage all of you to keep the journal going, whatever. Like just look at how many episodes and take some notes and go check out Nonku's book. It's on Amazon. they can get you anything, anywhere. So until we meet again, thriving and surviving and being together in our just, our journey is all we have. So thank you, Nonku. Have a great next step, and we'll keep our eye on you as well. So take care, and see
Thank you
you
so
again at some
much.
other moment. I'm
Bye-bye.
certain.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Dear Katie. These conversations are never easy, but they're always necessary, and we're so grateful you chose to share this space with us. If something in today's episode stirred something within you, please give yourself what you need. Whether that's rest, support, or just a deep breath, you're not alone. To hear more stories, resources, and survivor-centered conversations, be sure to subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to hear from you, so please leave us a review and share your feedback. Your thoughts help us create episodes that resonate with listeners. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.